beauty gang, it's your girl ShelethiaTreNae again, and I'm back here with another video. This video today I'm going to be telling you guys about my 5 to 8 week pregnancy update. These were the most stressful weeks of my life. Yeah, we're gonna get into it, but first I want to make sure that you guys are subscribed to this channel. Make sure that you have that notification bell on. Also want to make sure that you guys give this video a thumbs up so you don't miss out on any videos that I post to you guys in the future, because I will be posting more videos like this. So yeah, I just recently posted my 0 to 4 week pregnancy update video and how I found out that I was having twins. Yes, so if you guys want to see that, I will link that above so that you guys can click on that video and give that video a watch, or you can just check out my channel, scroll through and find whatever you want to watch. It's all on there. So yeah, we're gonna talk about my first prenatal visit. I'm gonna talk about the symptoms that I was feeling, what happened to me. I ended up getting hospitalized, and even before I got hospitalized I was in and out of the hospital like almost every day. We're gonna get into this video, okay? I'm gonna explain to you guys why these were the most stressful weeks of my life. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this video. So my 5 to 8 week pregnancy update, I kind of already told you told you guys how we found out we were having twins in my last video. So we found out at 5 weeks. We told our family members at 5 weeks, our immediate family. My mom, my dad, my 2 sisters, Kelsey's mom, and his stepdad were the only people that knew. So I started getting my first symptoms in week 6 actually, and according to my phone, it was June 23rd. I was approximately 6 weeks and 0 days, and I was very lethargic. I had a lot of fatigue. I was very nauseous, and I was having a lot of hot flashes. I was always hungry, and I had a lot of gas and a lot of cramps. So these are the symptoms that I was feeling at 6 weeks and 0 days. I can't really say to what extent. Like, I put on here so you can rate it out of 0 to 4 star, or sorry, 1 to 4 stars, with 1 being like the least amount of whatever and then 4 being like the highest amount. So it looks like I was cramping a lot, and my gas was was kind of bad. So, but looking back on it, y'all, I had no idea what I was about to get myself into. Like, I thought that was bad. Yeah, okay. It must have gotten worse because I literally didn't write anything else in my phone journal after that, but I can remember very clearly what happened to me. So I was, like I said in my last video, I was working on crew. Hours were very strenuous. I was temporarily deployed at the time, and I just didn't feel like myself. You know, I was away from home, and I was just very like, ugh, like blah. Like, I couldn't really function at work like I normally do. I was very laggy, and I was also trying to be very careful. So mind you, these were the most stressful weeks of my life, because these were the exact same weeks that I found out that I was having a miscarriage in my last pregnancy, the one that I explained to you guys about earlier. So I was so stressed out, and my mind was just on 10, you know, trying not to be so careful, but at the same time being very, very careful. I wanted to live my life like normal, like I didn't know that I was pregnant, so that I could get through those weeks. But at the same time, you can't help but think like, I really have to take it easy at this, like, because it could happen again, which is what we did not want. So I felt like I had the whole world on my back, because around week 6 and 7 is when it just got so bad. Like, I was literally throwing up 4 or 5 times every hour. So as you can imagine, I wasn't eating much at all, and I wasn't really staying as hydrated anymore. Like, I just completely, it's so hard to keep stuff down because it would come right back up. The medication that they put me on was not working. The pill, I felt like it was so strong that I couldn't, like, the moment I would take it, I would feel it working in my stomach, and then it would just come right back up. Like, it was just that strong, and it just didn't work. Like, I still, to this day, at 20 weeks, I still cannot take the pill. It's too strong for me. As you can imagine, me throwing up that much, I began to start throwing up bile and acid, and then it eventually led to throwing up blood. So I was going to the hospital like it was my job. Like, I was there almost every day of the week. Like, I need fluid, I need medicine, so they would have to give me my medication through IV. I was extremely dehydrated, and it got to the point where they noticed that everything was just low. Like, they noticed ketones in my urine, which is basically like you're starving yourself, kind of, which is not good during pregnancy. They noticed protein in my urine. They noticed that my potassium was low, and y'all, that was the most painful thing I've ever had to do. Getting potassium through IV is so painful. And I actually had an experience in the hospital where this guy who's inexperienced, he was giving me the potassium in my arm, and he had it up so high, so it was like constantly dropping, like in my, like just shooting in my arm instead of dropping like as it should. And it's supposed to drop with saline to dilute it, so you don't feel that just going straight into your arm. And he didn't have the saline running, so literally, y'all, my arm got so heavy, and it was just like, it was like my vein just bust. Like, my arm was hard as a rock, it was heavy, and it was painful, and I was literally like, tears were just like streaming down my eyes, and I was just telling Kelsey, like, go get a doctor, go get the doctor, like, this is not what's supposed to be happening. And he had to turn it down, and it passed by. But I did not want that anymore, and I had to get it for like a couple more days after that until it was high enough for me to take it in the pill form. So I was at work one morning, and I was literally throwing up my entire life. I couldn't have a conversation with anybody. I was literally in the trash can, like, throwing up. I was literally going to work, leaving work, going to the hospital, coming back, going to work, leaving work, going to the hospital, coming back. It was like a cycle for me, and I was like, this is not, like, I cannot work through this. I'm not built for this right now. So I went to my current supervisor at the time, and I remember it just as clear as day. I walked into his office, and I was like, I need to go to the hospital. I'm gonna drive myself to the urgent care down the street. And he knew I was throwing up. Like, he knew, he could kind of hear what was going on. He saw it all over. He was like, okay. He was like, sure, you know, like, just keep us updated on whatever. So I was like, okay. Drove myself to the urgent care that day, and when I got there, they took me to the back. They did some work on me. They saw my vomit, and they saw how I couldn't even talk to them. Like, I can't, like, every time they asked me a question, it was like every time I had to think, I just threw up. Like, it was like every time they asked me a question, I was throwing up, I was coughing. It was just bad. They were just like, you need to go to the emergency room. They're like, we don't have what you need here. We can give you fluids, we can't give you medication through IV, we can't, like, you're too far off, you have to go to the emergency room. So I was just like, I was feeling like crap. I was like, okay. So I'm like getting my stuff, and they're like, no, like, we can't, you have to take an ambulance. Like, we can't let you leave like this. You can't drive. And so I was like, I don't want to take an ambulance or whatever. So they were like, well, we're going to have you sign a waiver saying that you declined to take an ambulance. But even then, the doctor came in, and he was still like, is there anybody else? Like, we can't, I don't feel comfortable letting you drive, you know, leave. So I was like, okay, let me call my husband. So I called him off of work. He came immediately. He was already on his way because the supervisor had told him that I had went to the hospital, so he was on his way. So they led him through the back, and the doctor was literally, and I thank this doctor so much, y'all, because this doctor was literally like, I have to lay eyes on him before I let you leave. So he had to come back to the room with me. The doctor had to meet him, shake his hand, talk to him, tell him why that I had declined. Like I was a child, y'all. Like he told him that I declined the ambulance and that he had to drive me to the hospital and whatnot. So, and even the doctor was even nice enough to like print out like map quests of how to get to the hospital. Like it was just, he was like, they're already expecting you, just go ahead and go straight in, blah blah. So yeah, so Kelsey took me to that hospital that day, and I went there to the hospital. We stayed there all night long, like the whole day. We didn't leave. It was like 9:30 in the morning when I first got to the urgent care. We didn't leave that hospital until like 8:30 that night. Got home, still wasn't feeling well, but they had did the best they could, and they put me on so much medication that I just slept the rest of the night. But that next morning, and mind you, I had to leave my car at that urgent care because Kelsey had to drive me. So I was thinking, the next morning, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to be feeling better. We can just stop by there, get my car, and we can go to work. Tell me why that next morning, I was so bad. Like, everything was just like on 10 from what it was the day before. And I was like, I can't go to work. They were understanding. They were like, okay, that's fine. Kelsey went to work, but he had his phone like literally glued to his hip. And the moment I called, he already knew what was up. Like I was just like, I'm gonna have to call an ambulance. I had already been talking to my mom because I was like, I'm scared of ambulances. Like I didn't want to take an ambulance. But she had, like she heard how bad off I was because I had to keep putting her on mute to like throw up, and I would come back sounding like a man because I was just so like I was so, it was so bad, guys. And she was just like, you should not be going through this right now. I kind of knew that it was really bad, but I didn't know that I didn't know I was going to be gone for so long. So let me explain. I went to the hospital that day. Kelsey came, he took me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, that emergency room, they told me that I was so bad off that I needed to go to the hospital that my OBGYN practices out of. So they ended up putting me on an ambulance. I did not have a choice. They put me on that ambulance and took me to that hospital, and I was there for a week long at the hospital. Had no idea. Car still out there in the parking lot at the urgent care. Never went back to work. Like it was just so, they kept transferring me until I got to the place I needed to be. And when I got to that hospital, you guys, all right, first I'm gonna tell you, it was rough, but it helped. Like after a while, I left there still feeling weak, but not as nearly as weak as I was. And I will say, the whole time I was there, I didn't throw up, not once. Like they were on it. Like I was on constant IV fluids 24/7 the whole time I was there. And they had me on a consistent schedule with my medication. Like I'm talking about waking you up in the middle of the night, like here's your medication. Like I was on a very strict schedule, and very strict I's and O's. So everything I put in my body and everything I put out, they had to know about it. It's on a very strict schedule. Mind you, I said I was on a 24/7 IV fluid schedule. When I left there, I was still dehydrated. I had a lot of catching up to do from being on those fluids. I don't think you guys understand. That is constant water being pushed into your body for 24 hours a day. I was there for a week and I still left dehydrated. So to this day, I have to go twice a week to an infusion center and get IV fluids to keep myself hydrated. But now that I'm in my second trimester, currently I am doing a lot better with drinking my water, and hopefully I can start decreasing on those visits, but we will see. When I went to my real official first prenatal visit, the babies were healthy, the babies are fine. The whole time I was going through all of that, they were still healthy, they were still fine, they were normal. It's just I was just going through so much. My body was just going through a shock. So I was very grateful for that, but that experience was like none other. And let me tell you guys, when I went to my infusion appointment one of these times, this nurse there, I'm kind of scared to talk about it because I don't want her to watch this video and be like, are you talking about me? Like, okay, she was so, I thought she was inexperienced. She's not inexperienced. She's been working there for years, but she's just, I don't know. We'll just leave it at that. I don't know. Anyway, she poked me 3 times trying to get a vein, and she could not find it. And I don't like the way that she pokes. She puts the needle in and then she jabs it like that instead of slowly pushing it in. She just keeps jabbing and it hurts. And I tell her all the time, like when I'm not feeling good, I'll tell her, I don't have time for that pain today. You need to find somebody else to do it. Like, I will get so upset. She poked, and I guess she just got like so tired because it took her like 20 minutes to find a vein, and I guess she just got like so lazy. She got complacent, and she was like, do you taste the saline? Because that's how they test if they have it in your vein or not. And I was like, no, I don't taste or smell anything. And she was like, okay. So then she started the fluids, and then this big huge knot just started like growing on my arm, and I freaked out, y'all. Like, I freaked out and she freaked out, and once she freaked out, I freaked out even more. I was like, is that a knot? And like before I could even finish my sentence, she was like, yeah, it is. And then like she was like freaking out, and she just started putting pressure on it, like trying to push it down. And so I was like, are you gonna take the needle out? And she was like, yeah. Like, she just completely like froze, and like she took the needle out, which I don't even think she took it out the right way. Like, she took it out, and she just kept putting pressure on it, and it was like she was trying to hide it before I freaked out and let everybody else around us know what was going on. So, and she would not leave me alone either to even ask anybody or anything. Like, she was just constantly there. And she kept coming over, putting pressure on it. And then when she left out, because she asked somebody else to do it, she left out. And then I asked the girl that was doing it, I was like, is that normal? Like, I'm like, you need to let me know if I got a lawsuit on my hands or what. Like, what do I need to expect with this or whatever? And she was like, yeah, it's normal. It's called filtration, I think, something like that, where they just, the fluid is going, it's not in your vein, it's just going into your arm, which is normal, I guess, if like you had a vein pop or something. But it was not, it was inexperienced for her. So I ended up getting poked multiple times that day. I was just very scared. And I have a cousin who's an OBGYN, so you best believe I was on her line like, this happened, what do I do, blah blah. And she helped calm me down. But y'all, it was rough. And you can see in the thumbnail how bruised up like my arms were from getting that potassium and all those IVs and stuff like that. It was just but nonetheless, things did get a little bit better in my 8 to 12 week video, which is coming up next. So I'm gonna end this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below in the comment section. If you like these videos, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you guys are subscribed and that notification bell is on. And I will see you guys in my next video.